to show you how to identify similar figures. Similar figures have the same shape, but do not necessarily have the same size. You use similar figures throughout your everyday life. Here are some things to keep in mind.
Similar figures have to have 1. Corresponding sides that are proportional. That is, the corresponding sides of the ratio are equal. Here's an example. So here we have a smaller triangle, and here we have a bigger triangle. The two corresponding sides on the triangle would be these two sides.
Okay, so here is our example. As you can see, we have a smaller swimming pool and a bigger swimming pool. So the goal of this example is to try to find x, this unknown length, and use similar figures to try to find it. Okay, so as you can see, the height of the smaller swimming pool is 18 inches. The width of the smaller swimming pool is 9. The height of the bigger swimming pool is 50, and the width is unknown. So we are trying to find this width. And with the steps following, we will show you how to find it. Okay, first step is to make a proportion. So using these lengths and this unknown length, we have to make ratios. So we would take the height of the smaller swimming pool and the height of the bigger swimming pool and make a ratio, which would be 18 over 50. Now, you have to remember, if you're going small to big, you have to do small to big on the other side. You wouldn't be able to do x over 9. You would not be able to do that. You would have to go 9 over x. So this would be our proportion. And next, we would have to cross multiply, and I will show you that next. Next step is to cross multiply. Now cross multiplying is pretty self-explanatory. You have to cross multiply the numbers. So I would take 18 and multiply it by x, which would give us 18x. Then I would have to do the same thing to 9 and 50. 9 times 50 equals 450. Okay, so our next step is we would have to divide 18 into 450 because we have to remember we are trying to get x by its own. So the proper way to set it up would be 18x 450. And we would do divided by 18 divided by 18. Okay, so the answer of this division problem would end up being 25. So 25 would be our answer and our width of this problem. Two figures that have the same shape are said to be similar. When two figures are similar, the ratios of their lengths or corresponding sides are equal. Two different shapes can't be similar. When using triangles, the angles have to be measured so that you can figure out if they are similar. Here's a word problem that we are going to do. Okay, so here's the word problem that we are going to solve. A building with a height of 14 meters casts a shadow that is 16 meters long, while a taller building casts a shadow of 24 meters long. What is the height of the taller building? So we are clearly trying to find this height of the taller building. And with the measurements given, we will be able to find that missing height. Okay, so our first step is to use the measurements that we have and create ratios to make a proportion. So, this time in our example, we are going to go big over small. Like I said before, it doesn't matter if you go small to big or big to small. But what does matter is what you do to the height you have to do to the width. So this time we are going to from big to small. So we are taking x over 14 because these are their corresponding sides. It doesn't matter if this one's bigger and this one's smaller. They still have corresponding sides. Okay, so we took x over 14 equals, we have to do big over small, so equals 24 over 16. Okay, so the next step is to cross multiply. I don't really know why I like that word so much, but we are going to cross multiply. Okay, so cross multiplying is pretty self-explanatory. You have to cross multiply the cross numbers. So we would do x times 16, which would give us 16x. Then we would have to do the same to 24 and 14. So it would be 24 times 14, which would end up giving us 336. Okay, so then our next step would be to divide 16 into 336, because again, we are trying to get x by itself. So the proper way to set this up would be 16 over 336, and then 16 over 16x. Okay, so this division problem would end up getting us 21, and this would be our height of the bigger building. So x equals 21, and that is how we solve a similar figure problem.
1. The corresponding sides are in the same ratio. The angle included between any two sides of the triangle is equal to the angle included between the corresponding sides of the other triangle. Here we have an example of two triangles. Let's see if we can tell if they're corresponding or not.
Okay, so who is beyond thrilled to be solving the similar figures problem with triangles? I should see everybody's hands up. And you in the back, yeah, your hand's not up. I'm coming to get you. Uh-huh. Okay, anyway. So, using the lengths that we have with these two triangles, we are trying to solve x and this width. So the height of the smaller triangle is 6, the width is 4, the height of the bigger triangle is 12, and the width is unknown. So with these measurements, we are going to try to find this width of the triangle. And with the steps next, we will find it. Okay, so our first step, and everybody in this classroom should probably already know this because this is our third example. So everybody yell to Mr. Anderson what our first step is to try to find this unknown x. Okay, well, hope you all got it. Okay, so why don't I just tell you? The first step is to make a proportion, and we have to use ratios and turn it into one. So this time I'm kind of feeling we should go small to big. So I'm going to use these two corresponding lengths and make a ratio. I went small to big, so I'm going small to big over here. Okie dokie, we just made our proportion. And in x alone to try to find this width of the bigger triangle. So 48 divided by 6 ends up equaling 8. So I want you to yell to your teacher what 8 is. Okay, 8 is our width, and the x and the unknown length that we were trying to get throughout this whole example. So I hope you've learned a lot through these examples, and I hope you remember all the steps we have showed you when you see a similar figures problem. Thanks! Similar figures are very important, and they will help you throughout your everyday life. There are many jobs that use finding similar figures, such as an architect. They have to measure and compare a lot of things. I hope you have learned a lot through us teaching you this lesson. Thank you! Hey, 5th graders! Well, you're probably now 6th graders, which is crazy. Well, I hope you have a wonderful time in 6th grade math, but watch out for Mr. Anderson.
Thanks for watching.